This is a scammer's computer. The video footage you're seeing on your screen is not me on my computer, it's actually a man in India. I know his name, his address, and his phone number, but I can't disclose too much. It is YouTube after all. We can call him Vinod, or Mr. V. I've been watching him for a couple months now, and he spends his days sending scam emails to as many different email addresses as possible. In fact, you might have even received an email just like the ones he sends out. They're a standard tech support scam. Say that a potential victim receives an email with a fake invoice, or a purchase confirmation, a subscription renewal, anything like that. The email and invoice tries to masquerade as a well-known company, like Microsoft or Apple or Amazon. Even Best Buy and Geek Squad and NortonLifeLock are really common just as well. These fake email attachments state that you've made a purchase, but you actually haven't, and you know that you haven't. So it includes a big phone number for you to call for support to dispute these fake costs and charges. Once you call the number, you'll be on the phone with a scammer.
Thank you for calling support. This is David. How may I help you?
They'll keep up the charade and act like they're from Best Buy or Norton or whatever, and they'll try to get you to install some software so that they can remotely control your computer. Ultimately, they'll use that access to try and scare you. They'll say that hackers are infecting your computer, or they'll manipulate your web browser to say you have more bills or withdrawn charges from your bank. From there, they'll try to steal your money. Whether you send them gift cards or MoneyGrams or a wire transfer, that's their goal: to scam innocent victims out of their hard-earned money, and even for some, their life savings. Unfortunately, this happens all too often, especially to the elderly, or people that just don't know any better. But Mr. V has a unique and special role. I'll tell you more about him in just a sec, but first, let me give you some background context. Last year, I attended an event called the People's Call Center. It was a collection of people working to combat scammers and scam call centers, like real shady operations, where scammers will be on the phones to trick and deceive victims all day long. But we wanted to bring the fight to the scammers. The People's Call Center was the largest attack on scammers, as far as I know, even in the whole world. Everyone there was working to do what they call scam baiting, where they intentionally call scammers to waste their time, so those bad people aren't spending their time actually scamming real victims. Some of us at the event, myself included, were the hackers. Folks that would gain a little extra access and really work to put a dent in the scammer operations. So after the People's Call Center, I knew that I wanted to try scam baiting myself. Slowly, very slowly. I know it's been a year now and I'm still trying to just dip my toes in the water, but I want to try and join the fight. Little by little, I've been trying to be a part of that community. It is a whole community, after all. There are tons of scam baiters and they are all extremely talented. But I've been trying to learn the ropes and add a little bit of my own flair to it. So here's my first attempt. Here's me giving it the old college try, and this video is my first foray into some scam bait content. So hey, please be gentle. Over time, I've tried to make a few calls, and I've had my fair share of complete failures. Honestly, more losses than wins, really, but I'm trying. A real scam call sounds a lot like this.
I want to log into the bank.
Okay, just go and log that in, okay? Do you know your user ID?
This poor woman has been tricked into getting Apple gift cards for the scammer, and the scammer actually had her install software on her phone for remote access. We'll talk more about her story in another video, but while I was at the People's Call Center, I actually got to work hand in hand with some of the great people at AnyDesk. And I'm super grateful for their support because they are the sponsor of today's video. Let me tell you all about AnyDesk, the best choice for remote desktop access. AnyDesk is fast, even on low bandwidth connections. With 99.98% uptime, it's reliable, backwards compatible with older operating systems, even with file transfer functionality and a clean user interface. It feels like you're sitting at the remote device. And the best part is, AnyDesk is completely free for personal use. There are custom-tailored business plans to help your whole team stay connected, with tons of use cases like video editing, remote 3D printing, and general collaboration across your organization. Connect your own devices for access anywhere, and even help support family members with troubleshooting and those ever-present tech support asks. Use AnyDesk to save time and effort with the easily customizable, secure, and smart choice for remote access. Whether it's in the cloud, on-premise, or even on mobile, AnyDesk is trusted by over 185,000 businesses worldwide. Get started with AnyDesk and connect your world with my link below in the video description, jh.live/AnyDesk. Huge thanks to AnyDesk for sponsoring this video. All right, now back to Mr. V. Remember, he was an interesting case. He hasn't been on the phone and making calls to people like that poor old lady. He's just been sending emails. I think this is some interesting insight on how these fake invoices and scam emails find their way into your inbox. Mr. V has been blasting out emails to an ever-growing mailing list. And what you see on his screen with Gmail is actually his own testing account, a dummy email address that scammers use just to see if their message lands properly in the inbox or goes to spam. But that's not the most interesting part. You see all those icons in his taskbar? On the left, he has Microsoft Excel open to keep track of his mailing list. But on the right, you can see all of those remote desktop windows. Mr. V is actually connecting to a handful of throwaway Amazon or AWS EC2 instances. Just computers up in the cloud, so that he can make it look like he's sending emails from a different location other than where he is in India. He's even using VPN programs like TunnelBear and ExpressVPN to jump to another location on top of that. Each one of these cloud computers is set up with these VPNs and tunneling programs so he can easily hop back and forth to anywhere in the world and just blast out fake scam emails from a different location each time. Now, here's the craziest thing. We get to see him pivot back to his desktop. And there are tons of icons and installed programs and a handful of folders called ND. We see this on each different EC2 instance he connects to, a folder called ND5, ND6, even ND7, 8, 9, and 10. And in this folder, he deletes a file, html_code.html and mail.txt. And in some cases, some PDFs that are included in the folder just as well. Then he runs the application in the current directory, named after the same ND5 or ND6 folder, and this is a compiled Python program, apparently named A-SkyMailer v2. This program looks like it reads in credentials from the file that's in that same folder, likely login.csv, and it blasts out all these emails to different potential scam victims. He goes back to Gmail to refresh his own inbox and validate the emails have been sent out. And from there, it's pretty clear. They have some scrappy, automated tooling to send out these fake invoices in mass. For a quick moment, we see him visit another tab in his web browser with what looks like a dashboard for Mail Sender India, with the campaign ID column corresponding to the ND folder and the campaign name belonging to Vinod, Mr. V. Then he opens up WhatsApp, which gives us some super juicy information. We can see in his chats the names of other scammers, or at least other members of his team. And in the current group chat he's in, we see Arjun Janakpuri send him more Gmail addresses with the typical password key used to send emails in an automated way. This is their process. And Mr. V does this for quite a while. Arjun sends him even more Gmail accounts, and he continues the scamming campaign. And don't get me wrong, I have hours of this footage. Mr. V does this all day long. At one point, he moves back to his real, actual desktop. But on his desktop are some of the Excel files he has open, one of which contains all of the IP addresses and the passwords for the Amazon EC2 instances that he's been connecting to. The other Excel document contains all of the email addresses he's sending these fake invoices out from, and he goes and uploads these to that Mail Sender India dashboard. While he's preparing these, he actually opens up a couple folders on his desktop where we get to see all of the different variations of this fake invoice scam. Look at Norton 1, Norton 2, and 3, and on and on and on. In his downloads folder, we can see a snippet of his past work. Excel sheets named after each and every day they sent out these fake invoice emails and tried to scam people all day long. Soon enough, though, his computer starts to slow down. Suddenly, Excel wasn't responding, and that's because I started to interrupt. And appropriately, he freaked out. He rebooted his computer, but that didn't stop me. If anything, it told me his real personal email address. Once he was finished logging in, he refreshed his desktop a handful of times and then started a Windows Defender antivirus scan. It did start to tell him that it couldn't find any antivirus definitions, and for that reason, his computer was at risk. But he wouldn't be able to update. Now, I didn't do anything disastrous. I'm trying to be gentle for my first scam bait excursion, but Mr. V apparently got a little scared and shut his computer down. He didn't come back online at all later that day. So at the very least, we stopped some fake invoice scams being sent out and maybe made a little bit of a difference. But Mr. V showed us something very interesting. Not only did they have this automated tooling to be able to mass spam emails, but they also had this management dashboard, the Mail Sender India webpage. Looking back at that page in his web browser, alongside some of the WhatsApp message, there's a word that keeps coming up: iconic. There were even files with similar names on his desktop, like some of the tools that he seems to be using with names like Iconic Mailer. When we see Mr. V open a new tab, we see some of his recent browser locations. Some that have a name and title, Iconic Infotech, with the exact same logo that we saw in the very corner of the Mail Sender India dashboard. Doing just the tiniest bit of research, literally just Google searching for Iconic Infotech, leads us to this result, with the very same logo. Turns out, Iconic Infotech is a software company? Apparently, it's a business with the registered tax number and everything. Their website is at iconicinfotech.in, and the very same website is available at iconicinfotech.net. The online presence, though, doesn't look quite right. The whole website is super vague and doesn't really say what their services are. They claim they're an expert team for web and desktop development, automation and data processing with buttons that don't go anywhere, or video demo links that don't even point to an actual video. The pages are littered with typos or spelling or grammar mistakes, and sure, maybe part of that could be a language disconnect, but keep looking. They list off all these credentials right away to look as legitimate as possible, but I can't help but feel like this whole thing is fake. Clicking on any of their services brings you to, supposedly, a sign-up form where you enter whatever data and you click to check you agree to their privacy policy and terms of service, but those don't exist. If you actually do fill out the form, it takes you to another page that never actually does anything. Seriously, the code of the webpage is just spin a loading circle. On that sign-up page, the footer is filled with just lorem ipsum placeholder text, all the links are dead, and the contact information is just now completely different than what it was previously. On the very bottom of the page, the copyright year is old, and there are even 2 different file locations for the terms of service and privacy policy. And this one just brings you to the infinite spinning circle again. Same with the NV theme that's now suddenly credited on only this page. It's just so weird. All of the pages in the Our Services section point to the same place. The Our Products navigation link goes to a different infinite loading page, but the submenus underneath it go to some strange sort of purchase page where you can buy book chicks with a discount, of course, with the lorem ipsum description text, and look at all these reviews. Now, on to my favorite part of the website, the About page. Because alongside the broken grammar on the left, they show their expert team. And it's totally obviously stock photos, and Kamini and Alicia just happen to be the exact same person. I tried to get a second opinion from the scambait community, and Jim Browning just told me outright, it has to be a front. And he called it, "We found the lorem ipsum text." Yeah, a web development company who doesn't care about their own website. The whole thing just looks like bogus. But there's gotta be some truth to it, right? Especially because they're so confident with their formal credentials and official business registration. So let's see what more we can learn about Iconic Infotech, but external to their website. IndiaMart proves to be extremely helpful, both in offering some details about businesses publicly online, and even later, finding some extra special sensitive details from their leaked data that was previously exposed in a data breach. Once the investigations get to a little bit more pointed on individuals, there is a lot of juicy information you can uncover beyond just a person's password. But I digress. Some of the publicly available photos relating to Iconic Infotech give you just a little bit of behind the scenes. They include what looks like a business card for the same individual that was allegedly the CEO, according to their website's About page, and their tagline, providing data entry outsourcing services. So I guess the business is real, like literally formally filed and certified business, but it's gotta be a front for all the actual scam work. Every single page or every place that I've found on the internet that has an even remotely close attempt to try and explain what they actually do just says professional data entry, which I suppose Mr. V, I guess with him being like someone who just sends emails, I guess that's technically accurate, but it's still a fake disguise for scamming people. The Iconic Infotech logo is all over the mailing dashboard that we know is being used to send scam emails. And all the files and tools that we saw all over Mr. V's computer all point to Iconic Infotech just as well. And speaking of Mr. V, can we associate him with Iconic Infotech? Well, there's not a ton of info on his Facebook account, but we can at least use that to validate his accounts and username with the same person we're seeing in the Google profile picture. His LinkedIn account is pretty barren. No posts, no activity, no followers, nothing. But his work experience does list something. At least according to LinkedIn, he works at Satish Transport Private Limited, which seems like a lie, but his title is Data Entry Specialist. That's nothing definitive, obviously, but Data Entry Specialist still aligns more to Iconic Infotech. And back on the Google Knowledge panel, there are some interesting reviews for Iconic Infotech. Most look like they're fake. Nonsense reviews and 5-star ratings just from years ago, presumably created after like maybe a boss asked them, hey, all these fake employees, can you leave a review just to make this thing look legitimate? Even one of the accounts has the Iconic Infotech logo as their profile picture. The most recent review says that this is a fraud company. It says they keep asking you money and name KO security deposit and NOC and whatever. And this actually has a response from the owner. It says, we are data entry service provider on corporate level. A fraud website, iconicinfo.ltd, is using our name and address to cheat people. We are doing efforts to stop them, and our official website is iconicinfotech.net. So this tells us a few different things. One, the lorem ipsum and stock picture website we saw just a bit ago is really actually their official website according to them. And they claim that another website, iconicinfo.ltd, is using their name and address to cheat people, just like scammers do. That website, iconicinfo.ltd, doesn't seem to return anything anymore. But that does let us expand our search a little bit. Looking for more specifically Iconic Infotech Limited, we can find another strange India-based company just on LinkedIn. This looks more likely to be the quote-unquote real Iconic Infotech page, at least aside from whatever Satish Transport Company we saw on Mr. V's page. But we know for a fact that Mr. V really does work here. at Iconic Infotech. And if we take a look at the people associated with this page on LinkedIn, we can find, weirdly, an individual user account literally named Iconic Infotech, with their logo as the profile picture again. And corresponding with the same Google reviews we saw just a bit ago, we see Neha Bhatt, also on LinkedIn, and a data entry operator. So, I don't know, maybe it's not too much of a stretch to connect these. But then you have to ask, how do these people come to work here? You know, like how do they find themselves in the job of scamming people? Well, I'm sure it varies, right? But while trying to research all this, I did find a really interesting video on YouTube. Advertising to come work at Iconic Infotech as a data entry operator.
Hi, I'm Manish. You're watching #57 YouTube channel.
The video is really weird. It just seems to be like reading off the information and that's it.
New openings in Iconic Infotech. Iconic Infotech is hiring for BPO, CCE, data entry operators, back office executive. Work from home during COVID.
While the end of the video encourages viewers to join a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, or an Instagram group with the links in the video description or whatever, that looks to be more like an online community for helping people get jobs. They say in the description, the video author is not the hiring person for Iconic Infotech, they're just someone sharing the information. Still, knowing everything that we now know, it's strange. But the link to apply for a job at Iconic Infotech says the job has expired. So none of us could become scammers with Iconic Infotech, or anyone else that matter, at least with that link, but that is for the better, I think, because there don't need to be any more scammers in the world. There are already enough senior citizens being swindled out of their life savings, and innocent people just falling prey to scams like these. There is an overwhelming amount of fake subscription renewal emails, deceptive invoice messages, tech support scams, or emails like the ones that Mr. V is just blasting out. But you should know that they aren't going to stop. Scammers like Mr. V and others at this fraud company and many more aren't slowing down. So we've got to bring the fight. And even if that just starts with awareness, education, and just knowing how they operate, well, I hope you got to see some of the inside operations, even if just how they spam sending all these scam emails. We'll keep chasing them down. But it takes a whole community and a team to do that. With that said, I'm extremely grateful for the support of some of the members of the Scambait community. Thank you for letting me fly under your wing here and there. And I super appreciate AnyDesk support. Special thank you to AnyDesk for sponsoring this video, link in the video description, and thank you for watching this video.